Kayameka was just 8 years old when her world collapsed in a tragic instant. Her parents, Namdi and Adeyebi, were killed in a terrible flood. They were everything to her: her father, a kind mechanic in Ajigona, and her mother, a brilliant seamstress in Yoba Market. Their small, cheerful apartment in Oshodi suddenly became silent and empty. Kayameka was taken in by her father's older sister, her Auntie Ifeoma. Auntie heart was cold and hard as the Abuja rock. Auntie Ifeoma's mistreatment was brutal and severe, far beyond simple neglect. Kayameka was forced to do all the heavy, exhausting work in the compound. Her day started at 5 a.m. and didn't end until past 11 p.m. She had to fetch water from the communal tap outside, carrying heavy yellow gallons that stained her small body. She scrubbed the entire tiled compound floor on her hands and knees until they bled. She washed all the clothes by hand, including Auntie Ifeoma's and her two spoiled cousins, squeezing out heavy, soaking fabrics. If the work was not done perfectly, Auntie Ifeoma would beat her with a thin, hard leather belt, leaving painful welts and bruises on her legs and back. She was regularly slapped for the smallest mistakes, like dropping a cup or taking too long. While Auntie Ifeoma and her children ate rich meals like jollof rice and pounded yam with thick egusi soup, Kayameka was given scraps. She was fed only once a day, usually a small, watery portion of beans and rice, or sometimes just cold leftovers of the previous day. She was always hungry. Often, she would sneak into the kitchen to drink tap water just to fill her churning stomach. Auntie Ifeoma kept all the food locked in a pantry, and Kayameka was not allowed to touch it. The worst pain was the constant, vicious insults. Auntie Ifeoma never called her by her name, always referring to her as the orphan or the useless mouth. "You are dirty like your parents' lowlife." Auntie Ifeoma would scream, deliberately trying to hurt her by insulting her dead parents. Kayameka was denied school. While her cousins wore new uniforms and drove off to a good private school, Kayameka stayed home, illiterate and alone, scrubbing floors. She was forbidden of touching anything of value, especially her parents' few remaining items: a small family photograph and a special carved wooden bird her father made. Auntie Ifeoma locked them away, saying they were dust collectors. Kayameka was not allowed to speak to the neighbors or other children. She was a prisoner in the Suralia compound. She spent all her time either working or locked away in a tiny, stifling box room near the back kitchen, which had no fan and was stiflingly hot. She had no friends, no comfort, and no one to talk to. After 3 years of this horrifying life, Kayameka, now 11, was barely a shadow of herself. She was thin, sickly, and walked with a perpetual stoop, always ready to dodge a blow. One scorching afternoon, Auntie Ifeoma sent Kayameka on an errand to a market in Ikeja. As she walked, carrying a heavy basket, she saw a large, cheerful church sign, Orphanage and Community Support Center. A wave of desperation hit her. She stopped, hiding the bruises on her arms beneath her tattered clothes. She walked into the compound, her heart pounding like a drum. A kind, elderly woman, Mama Ngozi, who worked at the center, saw her trembling. "What is your name, my child?" Mama Ngozi asked, her voice gentle. Kayameka could only whisper, her voice hoarse from disuse. "Kayameka." Mama Ngozi looked closely at the dark circles under Kayameka's eyes and the cuts on her hands. When she lifted the hem of Kayameka's dress and saw the severe, dark welts from the beating, her eyes filled with fire. "My dear," Mama Ngozi said, holding Kayameka's hand tight. "It stops now. No child deserves this. You are safe here." Mama Ngozi took Kayameka inside and called the necessary authorities. The following day, with the help of community leaders, Kayameka was formally removed from Auntie Ifeoma's custody. Auntie Ifeoma faced a serious investigation for child abuse and slavery under Nigerian law. Kayameka's life did not become easy overnight, but the beating stopped. The hunger faded. Most importantly, she was enrolled in the community school and finally began to learn to read and write. She started healing, slowly, one safe, well-fed day at a time, away from the cruel shadow of her auntie's house in Suralia. Years later, the girl who was once the thin, beaten orphan of Oshodi blossomed into a young woman known for her quiet strength and deep compassion. At the age of 16, Kayamaka had spent 5 years at the orphanage and community center, a place she finally called home. Mama Ngozi became her true guardian, offering the stability and love Kayamaka had desperately missed. Kayamaka excelled in school, driven by years of stolen education. She devoured books and proved to be exceptionally bright, especially in mathematics. She was determined to use her knowledge to help others. The physical scars faded, and the psychological wounds slowly began to heal through consistent love and counseling. She learned to trust again and found comfort in sharing her story to inspire other children at the center. After finishing secondary school with top grades, Kayamaka earned a scholarship to study accounting at the University of Lagos, right in the heart of the city that had once witnessed her suffering. To support herself and contribute to the center, she started a small business near the Okoka campus selling meticulously crocheted items, a skill she learned from Mama Ngozi. She finally recovered the items her parents owned, the photograph and the carved wooden bird. She kept the bird on her study table, a constant, silent reminder of the love that fueled her ambition. Kayamaka never forgot the pain of the hungry, isolated child. Upon graduating from Unilag, she didn't pursue a high-paying accounting job immediately. Instead, she used a portion of her scholarship savings and the initial profits from her small business to start a non-profit organization. She named it Amoka Initiative, helping children from abusive homes and providing them with education and nutrition. The initiative focused on providing free after-school lessons and a warm, daily meals to children living in poverty-stricken areas like her old neighborhood. She worked closely with local community leaders and lawyers to educate parents and guardians about child rights and ensure that cases of severe maltreatment were reported to the authorities. By her mid-20s, Kayamaka was a respected figure, known for her soft voice but iron will. She proved that even the deepest darkness could not extinguish the light within a person. She had turned her severe trauma into a powerful, positive force, ensuring that no child under her care would ever again know the cold, starvation, and isolation she endured in the shadow of the house in Suralia.